Well, in my last video, I showed how you could get the data to use for your data science project. And here we're going to assume that you've already got that pulled and you're in the same directory with your Jupyter Notebook. At any time, you can run git pull from that directory, and it will update any information that is new, has been newly released. And if you see here, it says already up to date. And I can click here with ls to list everything in that directory. This is the directory beneath. I guess I should do this here. Insert a cell above. We'll just do an ls first. And it's the where's that? Right there's the directory. That's easier to see when you're actually in your. So let's do it if you're using a file manager. But now we'll look in this directory, and now we want to look under daily reports. And this will list all the latest files. That's identical to the one down here below. We'll take this and get rid of that, get it out of the way. Delete that cell. Now to open the latest file, you see the date 4/2/20. So we put 4/2/20 in here. And at this point, I'm actually going to do this a step at a time so you can see exactly what I'm doing line by line. We're going to insert a cell above. We're going to open this file. Now I'm identifying that file as the last file. The name of it is last file. So for my data in, I'm going to open last file, which is this file right here, the one we're looking at, and we're going to read it line by line. Now at this point, you can actually look and see what's in that file. Because I can write for data in, we're making a loop to read it one line at a time. And I'm going to copy paste for two reasons. For one, you see exactly where I'm getting that information from. And for two, I'm a terrible typer. For data in, for line in, data in. Now you can call this the line I'm calling, the term I'm using, line. Any word can go in here. When you build a loop, that could be line, I could write row, I could use item, I could use mudpie. I could use anything I want because this is a variable to assume one line at a time. And I'm going to call that one line, line. So for the line in data in, let's print the line. And there's all the data that's inside that file. And if we scan it down, a lot of it in the top here is in the United States, but as we get down towards the bottom, we get into other countries also. This is a daily report. Every day this comes out, and then everything here pertains only to the day. Now you've got this data that you can read. At this point, we can do something here and where we can limit what we look at so it doesn't look at everything in the world. If I want to do just a few, I can do that. So I'm going to make a counter and go count equals -1. The reason I'm doing -1 is when a count starts. If you started at 0, now if you start at 0, you're going to be be short on your numbers. Okay, now every time it reads a line, I'm going to increment my counter up 1. Count equals count plus 1. Now, every time I read the line, it's going to count, increase that count by 1. So I'm going to make a sentence in here so I don't have to look at all that information and go, if count is less than 10, then I'm going to print that line. And watch what happens here. Only 10 lines get printed. You actually can do a range. You could say if a count is over 10, it's under 10, and if that's a higher number, you could say if it's over 100 but under, over 50 but under 100, it will count you from, show you the cells from 50 on. Let me show you this, what I should do here, is show the actual count. So you can see it in front. This will actually take that counter and put it in front there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the counter. Now I'm going to do this for a couple reasons. For one, is if you're trying to find data that you don't like the way it looks or something doesn't look right with it, and it gives you a way to search it out. But we're going to say if the count is over 100, and the count is less than 110, now we're going to print it. So this will print from line 100. We want it over. If it's over 100 and under 110, so it's going to start printing at over 100, and it's going to stop when it gets to over 110, to 110. So we print that, and there we go. 101, 102, 103, up to 109. And I also did that to stop at 110. I could go greater than or equal to, and that will give me the actual 10. So now you know how to load your data and look at specific spots in it. Now we're going to do this again. These notebooks will be on Jupyter Jones also, so they could be downloaded and used. And I'll put links down below in the video. So there's the exact same thing as above, but now we're going to look for data in there. First, that takes up a lot of space, so let's get rid of that spacing. So to get rid of that spacing, I'm going to take line equals the line, but I'm going to replace the line feed, which is a backwards N, with nothing. That will erase. That takes that line, replaces, it's invisible, but right here there's a /n. That's what makes that space. So line replace /n with nothing. And if I do it now, it'll print the same thing without that big white space in there. Makes it a little more compact and easy to see. What we'll do here is we're going to split these lines. When you split a line, and I guess the best way is to show this with an example before I do it actually in here. Let's insert a row down below, and we're going to do a x equal this is a great time to, no matter what we're going to do, this is a great way to spend your spare time. I think many people have a lot of spare time now. And that's the end of the text. Now I can take that text and pull out pieces and words and everything else. And I'm going to go back, and the very last thing I'm going to do is we're going to print that text, because we're going to do a lot of things with that text, so you can see actually what control you have over your data that you get in. So if I print it like it is, it's exactly the same. Now I can say, okay, up on top where I use the word replace, we're going to do replace again. We're going to say, okay, we're going to take text equals text.replace and we're going to replace great with the word fantastic. Now what I've done, I said text. I'm going to take my text and replace the word great with the word fantastic. See, my dyslexia working up there. Fantastic. And now watch when I print it. This was the original right here. We'll put that original on top so you can see exactly what it is. Well, I guess, well, no, I'm going to show because that's what I printed. There's the original. But now when I run it, this is a fantastic way to spend your spare time. And what it did is it replaced that word great with fantastic. Now let's take this and we'll copy this sentence again. We're going to copy that whole thing, copy that cell, and paste it below. And paste the cells below. And you're going to see me do this up here. The reason I know what I'll do. I'll just copy this data. That's what I'll do. Okay. And we'll put that down as the text. And it doesn't like that backspace in there. I would take that out normally, but for this demo right here, I'm going to just remove it like that. So now you see this text is broken into pieces. The pieces are actually broken up because of the comma in there. That's what they call a delimiter. So what I can do is say, I want at that delimiter, I want to break these all into different pieces so I can get the 504, I can get the borrower, I can get West Virginia, the US, I can get the date out, I can get the actual date, I get the time out, I can get all that stuff individually. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, I'm going to take that text and I'm going to split it. I'm going to split it into pieces and I'm going to use the comma to split it. That's my delimiter. Now if I print my text at this point, it doesn't know any different. And it will print it exactly the same. The only thing it does, it makes it into a list because I've split it. Once you split it, you turn it into a list. It's no longer a string, it's a list. So now I can say, okay, I want to print that text and I want to print block 1. That block right there. But actually there's no such thing as starting with a 1 with Python. You start with 0. So I'm going to say, okay, print 0. And there's that number, the 501. So if I go here and go do control copy and say, and you want a comma, it's got to be a comma in between. I'll put several of these in so I can just change it. Control copy. Now I can print whatever I want to in there. As long as I'm on 0, it's just going to print that same number over and over again. But if I want to put down the city and the state, there's 0 there, there's 1 and 2. So let's print 1 and 2. We'll turn the rest of this into a comment for the moment, just so I can show you exactly what's happening here. If you use the number sign, it turns that into a comment, and it's ignored by the program. So what it's going to do right now is print 1 and 2, which is Barber, West Virginia. Barber, West Virginia. Now what I'm going to do later, and I'm going to show you this right now so you have an idea of what we're aiming at. What are we doing? What are we doing? This, if I search for the state Wisconsin, marks the latitude and longitude of Wisconsin. If I tell it to do the United States, I said look for everything with the U.S., and what it did is all the outside territories, anything with the U.S. in it. What I needed was the main part in here. So I'm going to zero my axis in and say, okay, here's the United States. That is drawn by nothing more than purely with the latitude and longitudes of the cases that are listed in that file. Now, if you notice in the cases, if we go back up here and take a look, you've got the latitude here, you've got the latitude, you've got the longitude, and you've got the number of cases, which is right next to it. There's the number of cases. The next number is the deaths. So we're going to go down here, and this is just like a teaser to say this is what you can do. Here we've got the data, we've got every one of these, but what I'm going to do is take the number and say whenever there's a lot of cases in an area, make the dot bigger. So now we see dots all over, and the areas that are strongest have a big dot. I don't know why that's a big dot. I don't know yet. I had just printed this before the movie, and I see that big dot there, and I don't know the exact reason for it, but I'll find it out. Either it's a mistake in data, or there's a little hot spot in there that nobody's hearing anything about, and it could be either one. I would think it's a mistake in the data. There's no big city in there. There's no reason for that to be a hot spot. But it definitely shows the little hot spots all around through. And when you start doing plots, you can go at state by state, country by country. And the countries don't all give latitude and longitude like the United States, though. It usually just says, hey, this is the country, period. So let's back up here, and we'll see how did I print that? How did I get that stuff? But you're going to get the idea real quick here. Because now I'm going to say, print me the latitude and longitude of this particular thing here. So now we've split this. The latitude and longitude, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. It looks like 5 and 6. So let's see what happens with 5 and 6. There's the latitude and longitude. So now we know how to pick out the latitude and longitude. We'll go back to reading our file right here. We're going to read our file. And if you notice, that's 5 and 6. So let's go back up here, and we'll insert this. Before I run this, we're going to put another line in, insert a longitude. Okay, come on. Insert a cell above. We're going to open that file back up. We're going to read the data. We're going to use your count it is 1. And I'm going to add something else to it. And you're going to see why. Paste. Now don't look at my camera. Because, oh man, he's not looking at me. Oh my God. Now we've got to commit. We've got to create an empty list. This makes an empty list. I give the word latitude. I could write the word latitude. I could write any kind of variable I want in there. But just for convenience, I wrote latitude. I wrote LAT. LAT is an empty list. Paste, and we'll paste that. Oh, I don't want to cut it. Copy. And let's paste that list in there. Now I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to go back up here to show you something. Because I'll do the same thing here that I'm going to do below, but on a scale of 1, and it will show you. I made a latitude and longitude, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my latitude, LAT, and I'm going to append that file with text 5. Append it with text 5. I'm going to take and the same format as that, except I'm going to append my longitude with text 6. Now we read the latitude, we read the longitude. Now we're going to append them into these two files, or into these two lists. And it printed them. But now I can go and insert a cell above and say print and print. Now there's only one item in this list, but you will see that one item. So now we're going to print the longitude and we're going to print the latitude. And there it is. It's in the list. Now to show you something interesting is that list stays as long as I don't turn it back into 0. So I'm going to comment it out so I don't turn it into 0 again. If I rerun this, it will add that into it again. So if you want your list to remain, to go from one cell to another, you just don't use it as a blank again. Because as soon as you use it as a blank, you erase it. Because I can run this and say run it again. And if I run the bottom one again, now I've got 2 entries in there. So let's go back down here. At this point, we've got the latitude and longitude, and you understand basically a very basic thing of how a list works. And we're going to read those lines. We're going to replace that N, just like we did up above. We're going to read it line by line. We're going to replace that. The N is the line feed. We're going to replace the line feed so we don't have this thing pasting line feeds into our latitude and longitude. We're going to split that line just like we did up above. Take that line and split it. And now we're going to look in that line. You saw what the line looks like. You print the line out right here. Let me copy that cell. I'm going to insert the cell above. Whoop. We're going to paste the cell above. Now we're going to, now where I got this US in line, I'm going to write down here. And I'm going to erase that latitude and longitude. I'm going to erase the comment out so it'll put it back to a 0 again. And I'm going to say in here, if US is in that line, just like I'm doing here, if US in text, because we're using that text up there, we're not opening the file and doing it. We're doing a line. I'm trying to show exactly what this, what you're looking for. You're saying if US exists in the text, T-E-X-T, in position 3, 0, 1, 2, and there's no comma there, so 3. Now we're going to append the latitude. We're going to append the latitude, and we're going to print that line. Or we're going to print, yeah, we'll print the whole line. No, it might be more fun to do this, which I said we're going to print. The latitude and longitude. Print latitude and longitude. If US is in the line, which there it is, print the latitude and longitude. And if we run it, there we get the latitude and longitude. And it's because that US is in there. Or I could pick out the state. I could also say, if West Virginia is in the line, print the latitude and longitude. If West Virginia in text, now that's 0, 1, 2. So if text is in 2, position 2, print text 5, and let's include in that now the state. Print the state, which is position 2, and print the latitude and longitude. And we have West Virginia, latitude and longitude. Now we go down to the actual file when we start using it to build our plot. You see we have the latitude and longitude. We're reading it, not just one line of data. We're reading every line in that file, one line at a time. We're splitting that file. And every time it finds US, it's going to increase that counter by 1. If it finds US in there, it's going to append the latitude and longitude. So now we're building a big list of everything with latitude and longitude. For every location it finds, it says US in it. And if you see, I've got, if count is under 20, print everything out. If I erase that under 20, now we're going to run this. If I erase that 20, it will list everything all the way down. So let's get rid of that 20. So now we're going to get that loop out of there, and we're going to print everything. Every one of them. We're not going to count just the first 20. So now let's print it. And if we look at this file, it's quite large. Or that list it winds up with is quite large. I don't know if that'd come out or not. Oh yeah, it come up, it popped up on the video. Now if you notice, everything is nice all the way down until you get to the very end. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 locations that don't have latitudes and longitudes, and they're the last 8. Keep that in mind, because now we have this list printed. And if I say print the list, we're going to go back up to where we printed the latitude and longitude, because now it's a big list. And to separate the two so you can see it, we're going to print a line just to separate it so you can see where one starts and the other one or one ends and the other one starts. Okay, now we're going to print them. And there's all the latitudes and all the longitudes. And there's a split in between. The whole top part is latitudes, the whole bottom part is longitudes. And if you notice, the very end here is some messed up data. That is what I just showed you down below. This is not latitudes and longitudes broken and divided like all the rest of them are. So we are going to have to remove that from the list. So what I can do to see that removed, and again we're going to do a sample up on top here, insert a cell above, and we'll go clear up here. We'll capture this. Yeah, I can just capture this. This will show you what I want to do. Now we have, you can cut off the end of anything you're making. Your list, your text, anything, you can cut off the end. And you do that by putting a bracket, putting a colon, and say, okay, minus, let's get rid of the word now and the period. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Minus 4. Now if we print the text, you got rid of this now and you got rid of the period. You minus 4 from the end. You also could, if you want to, you could say, hey, I want to take 4 off the front. And you go 4 in the front, and it won't start until after 4 or after 5. We'll use 5, that way it will start with S. It would start with is. Oh, need that in there. And it took 5 off the front, and it took 4 off the back. So we need to do that with our list. So you see this list here. And I said it was 8 things you have to go back, because there's 1 is a blank, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8. Let's try that with removing 8. We'll take that list and we'll remove 8. Minus 8. And we'll take that one and minus 8. And you need the colon. Minus 8. Now, you see the difference? Let's take those 2 last lines. There's the last line of the latitude. We'll copy the whole last line. There's the whole last line, because we don't want to get rid of I want to see exactly what we're getting rid of. In other words, That's why I want to do this. See exactly what are we taking out of there. So there's the last line of my latitude. And again, these are comments. This isn't part of the program. This is so I can look at that and remember what was in there. And there's the last line. I'm going to copy the last two lines here because of the way it falls. I'll make that a comment. Okay. Now we print it, and let's see how the last lines compare. Now if we go down to the very bottom, we see it ends with an even latitude and longitude right there. We're in good shape. Now if we go up to the top, go up here halfway. Where are you at? I don't like that line there. It's going to cause us a problem. And I'm not sure what it is. It's going to give me blank data is what it's going to do. It's going to give me blank data. And if we go back up here to our latitude, we see it's not in here. And I think when I look at my data, I'm going to see that there's a blank line in here. But it might not affect anything because there's nothing there. Okay, so now where are we at? You see how you trim the back off. And that gives you the data you really want. Now what I can do here, and we're going to go down here where I printed this data at. Everything is pretty much the same as what you see. The only difference is I've got a word that I'm searching for. Like up here, I said if US is in the line, print it. Down here I'm saying if the state is in the line, if state is in position 2, and the length of the line is greater than 8, that's going to keep me from printing that blank line out up there. And if the length of line 6 is greater than 4, print it out. I probably should do that at 8 too. I should do that at 8. I don't think it makes a difference. I think 4 probably would work for both. But okay, so now it's going to say what state do you want to see. Okay, let's print this. Did I do? Oh, there it is. Okay, what state do I want to see? Let's look at Florida. So there's everything in Florida. All the data in Florida. And there you see Florida as an outline. So I can do any state I want to do. And it will print it individually. Now that's if I put state in there, I can do that. If I put US in there, like here, and print it, and basically everything I've done here is exactly the same as the very beginning, except what I did is I made a plot. And in our next video, we're going to talk about making plots. Because you know how to get the data, you know it results in a plot, now we'll talk about how to make a plot. Hey, have a nice day. I hope you enjoy this video. Be sure and subscribe and watch for more. There's a lot of things going to happen, a lot, in our United States, in the world. And look at the data firsthand is really, really neat. When I can go there and look at an individual state and see where the hot spots are, and don't even have to look on YouTube or the news, I can see it because this information I'm getting is from Johns Hopkins University. This is as a matter of fact, let me click here. This is where it's the start for this page, and everybody's seen this page. And if you didn't see the first video, you don't know, or you don't know that. the first video shows you exactly where this data is at and where it comes from. And down at the very bottom here, it says downloadable database is on GitHub. So you can go to GitHub, download that database, and use it to make your own data. Okay, back to have a nice day. If you haven't seen the first video, go back and see the video before this, because I'm going to go ahead and the next one will be telling you how to make plots.